Ethan never imagined his life could unravel because of a 10-day wellness retreat. Lila returned transformed, preaching purity, balance, and a strict vegan lifestyle she expected him to follow without hesitation. His fridge was emptied overnight, his favorite meals vanished, and every bite he took became a moral test in her eyes. But things escalated when she slammed a final ultimatum onto their relationship. He had exactly 2 weeks to become fully vegan or walk away forever. Ethan nodded quietly, letting her believe he was shaken and ready to submit. But beneath the surface, his decision had already been made. What Lila didn't know was that Ethan had been building something in secret for months, something that stood in direct opposition to everything she had begun to demand from him. And the moment she delivered that ultimatum, the countdown to the truth officially began. Lila's transformation became a full-time project, and Ethan was her unwilling apprentice. Every morning, she inspected the kitchen like a commander preparing for battle, opening cabinets, sniffing containers, and checking expiration dates for anything that didn't align with her new philosophy. The first day, she tossed out all the meat in the freezer. The second day, the eggs and cheese were gone. By the end of the week, even the condiments had been purged, anything with traces of dairy, gelatin, or ingredients she couldn't pronounce. Ethan watched in silence, nodding when she lectured him about discipline and spiritual clarity, but inside he felt the pressure tightening like a vice. Yet he played along flawlessly. He complimented her cooking, asked questions about plant proteins, and pretended to meditate beside her each evening, even though he was secretly planning phone calls and meetings once she fell asleep. Because while Lila believed she was reshaping Ethan's life, Ethan was reshaping a future she had no idea existed. Lila woke up each morning with renewed enthusiasm, convinced that Ethan was undergoing a spiritual transformation. She watched him sip green smoothies without gagging, take notes during her lectures about ethical eating, and nod earnestly when she talked about letting go of old cravings. The truth was, Ethan had mastered the art of pretending. He had studied her patterns carefully, knowing exactly when to smile, when to ask thoughtful questions, and when to stay silent so she could fill the space with her newest wellness discovery. Each time she praised him for finally aligning, he felt a twinge of guilt, but not enough to derail what he was building. The night of the grand opening arrived with a kind of electric tension Ethan had never felt before. The restaurant glowed under warm lights, the air rich with the smell of seared steak, sizzling butter, and wood smoke from the grill. Staff moved in coordinated rhythm, greeting guests, pouring drinks, and plating dishes with rehearsed precision. For a moment, Ethan allowed himself to feel proud. Everything he had worked for was finally real. But that moment dissolved quickly when he saw Zoe walk in, laughing loudly, followed by the rest of Lila's friends, and finally, Lila herself. She stepped inside wearing a soft green dress and a hopeful smile, expecting a wholesome birthday surprise. Her expression shifted slowly as she looked around. The mounted bullhorns on the wall, the smoky haze drifting from the open kitchen, the sizzling tomahawk steak being carried past her table. Confusion spread across her face like a shadow. Then she saw the sign above the bar, the one Ethan had spent months designing. Grizzly's Den Steakhouse, owner, Ethan Hart. The room froze for Ethan even before it froze for her. Lila's jaw dropped, as if she had just witnessed a betrayal of cosmic proportions. Zoe whispered something under her breath, eyes widening. Lila took a slow step toward Ethan, her voice trembling between disbelief and rage. "You own this place." All conversation in the restaurant hushed. Customers leaned away from their tables. Servers paused mid-step, balancing trays. Even the music seemed to lower itself out of respect for the unfolding disaster. Ethan nodded carefully, choosing honesty now that the stage had been set. "I've been working on it for a long time." Lila's voice rose instantly. "A steakhouse. You open a steakhouse while pretending to be vegan." Ethan tried to keep calm, but she was spiraling faster than he could speak. You lied to me, she snapped. You deceived me just so you could run this. She gestured wildly at a server, carving a ribeye at a nearby table. A few customers pulled out their phones, sensing drama that was too compelling to ignore. Zoe tried to place a hand on Leela's shoulder, but Leela jerked away. She turned her anger toward the entire room, announcing loudly that Ethan had spiritually betrayed her and had been living in toxic denial. A couple at the bar chuckled under their breath, and that seemed to ignite her further. Ethan attempted to guide her outside before the situation escalated, but Leela squared her shoulders in the center of the dining room, refusing to move. She accused him of manipulating her, of mocking her values, of using her retreat as an excuse to hide his meat empire. Each accusation became more theatrical, and with each word, Ethan could see the guests shifting uncomfortably. His staff watched with wide eyes, unsure whether to intervene or let the chaos burn itself out. Finally, Ethan spoke firmly. I never asked you to change who you are, he said. But you tried to rewrite me completely. The room reacted with a low murmur. Leela's face twisted in shock, as if no one had ever spoken to her that way. She opened her mouth to retaliate, but realized the entire restaurant was now watching, not with sympathy, but with growing impatience. She stormed out without another word, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. Zoe hurried after her, apologizing softly to Ethan before disappearing into the night. Within minutes, the videos hit social media. Leela's meltdown became the centerpiece of dozens of clips, each capturing her outrage from a different angle. The internet, merciless as ever, began dissecting her behavior before she even made it home. Back inside, Ethan steadied himself, straightened his jacket, and returned to hosting the event. The rest of the night ran smoothly, though everyone could sense the lingering buzz of what had happened. Ethan knew the storm had only begun. Because once Leela took the drama online, the explosion would be far bigger than anything that had happened inside the restaurant. The online eruption began before Ethan even locked up the restaurant that night. Leela had gone live on every platform she owned, recounting the betrayal with teary eyes, dramatic pauses, and long sighs that suggested a tragedy far beyond a disagreement about food. She framed herself as a victim of deception, insisting Ethan had manipulated her spiritual growth for months. But the internet wasn't buying it. Comments flooded in, questioning why she thought she had the right to control someone else's diet or lifestyle. Within hours, people began stitching her video with old clips, calling out her habit of pushing extreme wellness trends onto others. The turning point came unexpectedly, delivered by someone Leela once idolized. Astrid, the well-known wellness influencer who had inspired Leela's vegan transformation in the first place, posted a carefully framed confession video. With soft lighting and melancholic music playing in the background, Astrid admitted she had never actually been vegan. She explained that her plant-based content was simply brand alignment, and then, as if tossing Leela under the bus with a gentle smile, claimed Leela had taken her words far too literally. The internet exploded at the revelation. People who had mocked Leela before now mocked her even harder for following someone who didn't follow her own advice. The betrayal from her idol sent Leela spiraling all over again. Grizzly's den settled into a rhythm that felt almost unreal to Ethan. After months of hiding, stress, and conflict, the restaurant finally moved into a phase where everything worked the way he had imagined. Customers returned week after week, praising the smoky flavors, the friendly staff, and the relaxed atmosphere. Food critics wrote glowing reviews, calling the place a bold, unapologetic homage to classic American steak culture. The 4.5-star rating on multiple platforms felt like a quiet victory every time Ethan checked it. Even the staff began joking that the restaurant was charmed, as if the universe itself had decided to bless the place after the chaos that came before it. As the months settled into a calm, steady rhythm, Ethan found himself standing outside Grizzly's den one quiet evening, watching the warm lights glow through the windows. The restaurant felt alive, not because of chaos or controversy, but because of the genuine joy shared inside it. He realized that everything he had endured, the pressure, the heartbreak, the unexpected spotlight, had led him exactly where he was meant to be. Inside, the staff laughed as they cleaned up for the night, moving with the easy coordination of people who trusted one another. Josie leaned against the counter, smiling at him in a way that made the world feel soft and uncomplicated. There was no drama in her gaze, no expectations he couldn't meet, only quiet encouragement. Ethan stepped back in, flipping the open sign to closed, and felt a sense of closure settle over him. The past no longer tugged at his heels. The chaos that once defined his life had become nothing more than a distant echo. He walked toward Josie, knowing this next chapter would be written on his own terms. The restaurant, the peace, the future, he had built it all from the ashes of a storm he never asked for. And now at last he was free,